All right, welcome everybody. It's so good to see you all. I haven't seen you guys in a really long time. So even though we're on Zoom, it's kind of nice to see some familiar faces. So tonight we're going to be talking about just kind of tips and tricks for surviving and thriving during remote learning. My perspective is as both a student and an educator right now. Aria, take it away.
Sammy Fowler is a majority Rainbow Girl from Pemmy Assembly number 28. She served New Hampshire Rainbow in many capacities, including Grand Worthy Advisor. Outside of Rainbow, she graduated from Keene State College with a degree in music education and saxophone. She was a teacher for 5 years, teaching elementary, middle, and high school band, general band, jazz band, marching band, drama club, composition club, and coaching volleyball. Sammy is currently a graduate assistant at the University of Massachusetts Amherst, where she is studying wind conducting.
Great. Thank you, Aria. So I know all of you on here. But so right now, for those of you who didn't know, I am a graduate student at the University of Massachusetts Amherst, studying wind conducting, which means that I am working with the wind band and symphonic and concert bands, and teaching some undergraduate music education courses, as well as doing my own graduate courses. And we also have Miss Aria P, who is our fabulous moderator for the evening. And she'll be watching the chat. So right now I only see like 4 people on a screen at a time. So the raise hand function isn't super great when we're having conversations like this. So if you have a question, put it in the chat. And we also have kind of built in time after all of the slides so that you guys can ask questions. But we want this to be fun and interactive. I know most of us have probably been sitting at our computers on Zoom all day. I know that I have in my classes. So feel free to get cozy at home, have a cup of tea, eat some dinner if you're a college student and right now is your dinner break. And I hope that you have fun with me tonight. So these are a couple of the things that we're going to talk about. And so we sent a survey out with some questions just to kind of gauge the girls as to what struggles they're having, what successes they're having, and kind of the things that they wanted Ari and I to talk about tonight. So we kind of have 6 categories that we're going to go through and share some resources. Aria and I did some planning and tag teaming about things that have worked for us, things that work for other people, and we'll go through them. So setting yourself up for success during the day, tips for staying focused during your classes or meetings, tips for balancing life outside of school, how to communicate with your teacher, taking care of yourself mentally and physically, and some time management and scheduling tips. So I just want to get started interactively with kind of a hello. So if everyone could go around and introduce themselves, and you can say your name, your grade. If you are no longer a student, you can just skip your grade, the assembly you're from, and then just a fun fact about yourself. And I'll just call out names down the list, just so I can keep track of who's who. Great. Thanks for doing that, everyone. It's always hard to, talk at a screen, and you can't really tell how people are doing. So it was nice to hear everybody's voice. So let's get started with some stuff. So first thing we're going to talk about tonight is setting yourself up for success. So what are some things that we can do before the day starts to get you set up for success? And so I have some resources linked at the end that we'll talk about, and Mom Stacy will have the links for all of you guys to access these resources. But these are just some things that help me make my day as successful as I can.
I don't know if there is or not. I will go look.
Mom Heather, can you mute your mic?
Yep, sorry.
Thank you. So something that really helps, writing out your schedule the night before. So I know that it can be really tough with all the things that you have to do with your classes, with your chores, with your rainbow life, but having a place on your desk where you make a to-do list the night before and write, all of your to-do things, write out your schedule. I'm in class from this time to this time. I'm doing homework and I'm studying at this time. I'm doing studying my ritual at this time, all of those types of things. That way, not only are you making sure that you have a list to help your morning go smoothly, but you're also kind of brain dumping before you go to sleep. So you're not thinking about all of these really anxious thoughts and stressful thoughts about all the stuff that you have to do. You can get it on a paper and leave it there. So along those same lines, make a to-do list for the morning, right? Everything you want to accomplish. I like to put time blocks in mine. This is just an example of what my schedule looks like. This is my morning, daily schedule with my classes. And I write in and block out my study time, my time to practice my instrument, my time to call my grandma, because if I don't call grandma, it's not good. So make time to call your family, guys. So that just helps me kind of stay productive. I can always check at the time and look at my schedule and my to-do list and make sure that I'm tackling everything I need to. Set your clothes out the night before. If you're like me and you love your clothes and your shoes, it can sometimes take a long time to get ready in the morning. So just picking out, it sounds so simple and so easy, but picking out what you're going to wear the night before, and wearing an outfit that makes you feel comfortable and confident. So right now, because we're all Zooming and we're, doing Zoom school, I wear, my professional clothes on the top, but I am rocking my rainbow sweatpants on the bottom. So party on the bottom, professional on the top. But whatever you need to do, if you want to have a blanket in your lap, whatever makes you comfy. Have a good breakfast. I know for me, I was never a big breakfast eater, and being remote has kind of given me the time to be able to make a good breakfast. So something quick, something filling, something that makes me feel good. I do overnight oats with fruit every morning for breakfast, have my cup of tea, and I'm ready to go for the day. Drink lots of water. We are not moving as much as we were before, right? We're now confined to a desk for 8 hours a day. And so we're just not moving our bodies at all in a meaningful way. And so making sure that you're well hydrated will really, really help you feel good throughout the day. The other thing you can do, making sure your homework and assignments are done the night before. If you're anything like me, you make promises to yourself where you're like, I'll put my homework away now, or I will wait to do my grand assembly scrapbook. I'll get up at 3 o'clock the next morning and I'll work on all of this stuff and I'll get it all done. And that does not happen. Then 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock comes and you're like, no, I'm actually going to go back to bed. I know we've all been there, especially with grand assembly projects. Jackie's laughing. The feeling is real. So making sure that your stuff is done, right? Not only is this going to help your morning go a little bit smoother, but it's going to give you time so you're not cramming before class. You're just getting ready. You pull your materials out and you're like, bam, got it all done. And the other thing is have all of your materials at your desk and your workspace. Try not to lay in your bed and do your homework, right? Have a designated area where you can go that makes you feel productive and where you can get everything done. Get up in the morning, make your bed, go to your desk or some sort of study space that you have kind of designated for you. Questions? Aria, anything in the chat?
Nothing in the chat.
Okay, any questions from anyone here? Going once, going twice. Sold. All right, next topic, tips for staying focused. So how can you stay focused and engaged during online classes? So as an educator who is teaching Zoom classes and as a student who is taking Zoom classes, it is very distracting and it is very easy to get unfocused, to scroll on social media, to be checking a bunch of different things, checking your email. But it's really important that we try to stay kind of in the moment in whatever we're doing. So no sounds or background noise. Put yourself in a place where it is just you. There's no distractions. There's no other people around. I know if you're in a college dorm that might be a little bit more challenging, but put some headphones in, put on some music, put your phone away. I always make sure that when school starts, my phone goes in the other room. Use a fidget. I'm not sure if anyone here is familiar with fidget spinners or fidget rings or you can buy, like I have this little like brain. That's a little fidget that I like to play with, but just something to kind of keep your hands busy. Something else that we kind of invested in was one of the under desk. It's kind of like a mini elliptical, but it fits under your desk so you can be moving your feet. Just so you're moving. I know for me personally, like sitting 8 hours a day staring at a computer is really, really difficult. So having something to kind of occupy your hands or give movement in some way is super helpful. Focusing when you're studying, putting on some instrumental or meditation music. I personally can't study with music in the background because I study music for a living. So I have a really hard time doing this, but if you like to listen to pop music or rock music or oldies or instrumental, whatever helps you stay focused, music has been proven time and time again to be super helpful when we're studying. The other thing, taking notes. It's really easy to be disengaged when we're on the other side of a screen, and everything's on PowerPoint, and I'm sure that your teachers probably put PowerPoints and everything up for you or give you access to them on Moodle or Blackboard or whatever Google Classroom that you're using. But forcing yourself to take handwritten notes is going to help you stay a little bit more engaged in the class, and also retain the information a little bit better. The other thing, getting involved in class discussions. You got nothing to lose. You're on the other side of a screen, far away from these people, right? No anxiety about getting up in front of the class and writing on the board. So engage in those in class discussions, especially when you're doing breakout groups, and things like that. Not only from a student side, but as teachers, it's really awkward for us to stand up there and be like, does anyone want to give the answer? And then we are met with just silent stares, right? I know that things are a little unorthodox right now, but this is still your education and you want to get as much out of it as you can. So participate in those discussions. Block distracting websites. There is a way, we do it with our students all the time, of blocking Facebook, blocking Twitter, blocking Instagram. I have it set on my computer where from like 8 o'clock in the morning to 6 at night, I cannot access those websites on my computer. My phone is a different thing, which is why the phone goes in the other room. But really trying to force yourself to not let your mind drift and just be like, all right, I'm just gonna check Facebook for a minute, because we all know where that goes. And then, 2 hours later, you're on TikTok and you're trying out a new dance, and it's just not good for anyone. The other thing, have a good workspace. This doesn't have to be anything fancy, but just a place where you can have your materials, where you have space to put your notebook out, where you have space to put your planner out, and you can write and take notes and feel productive. Questions. I saw some stuff pop up in the chat.
Yes, there are 2 questions in the chat. Jackie says, going back to the morning routine, do you have any suggestions on how to wake up and not hit the snooze?
Yes. Jackie, do you use your cell phone as your alarm clock? Yeah, put it on the other side of your dorm. Like physically make yourself get up out of bed to turn your phone off, and you won't snooze anymore. That is the only thing that's worked for me. If anyone of an older generation here has wise ideas and thoughts on how to help with this, because I still struggle with hitting the snooze button, but putting my alarm clock on the other side of the room has helped. Anyone else have thoughts? I think Padre Smith might be typing. Invest in a rooster. There's no snooze. There you go, Jackie. Ask Dad Smith if he'll bring you a rooster and put it outside your dorm.
Trust me, there are days that you still hit the snooze button.
Yeah. Jackie, the other thing that I do sometimes is depending on when, so some days I have classes that don't start till 9. And I like to be up by 7 every morning. So sometimes I'll hit my alarm. I'll set my alarm for 6:30, knowing that I don't have to be out of bed till 7. And so I don't go to back to sleep at that time, but that gives me some time to like do a morning meditation, just like stay in bed. And so I don't feel as anxious about like, oh, I have to get up right now. Like I can kind of take my time, do some reading if I want to. But that's kind of what I do. It's hard now because we just got an Alexa. So now you can just be like, Alexa, stop. But I would say if your alarm is on your phone, or do what Claire did, there's an app to solve math problems. There are other apps that do similar things where you have to answer like a series of questions or it won't turn off. And by that point, you'll be awake. I also find it really helpful to have a glass of water on my nightstand. And when my alarm goes off, I drink some water. And then Aria, was there another question?
There is another question. From a teacher's perspective, is there anything that you would like students to do more or less of in class?
Yes, absolutely. Claire, that's a great question. Things that I personally want my students to do more of, and obviously I want you guys to do as well in your classes, is advocate for your learning. Okay. We are all navigating Zoom learning, and not a single teacher out there right now knows what they're doing. And we rely so heavily on your feedback to make sure that this is what you need. So if something isn't working, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit of how to communicate with your teacher, but this is your education, and we want you to take ownership of your education. And if things are not working, or you're stuck, or sitting in a Zoom lecture every single day is just not doing it, reach out to your teacher, right? We want to hear that feedback of like, Miss Fowler, when we did those breakout discussions, like we had such great conversations and we learned so much and we worked as a group versus like, sitting and listening to a 2-hour lecture every day. So that's something that I wish you guys would do more of, as well as just not be afraid to participate. Just like you would, even though, you're scared to participate in real class too, but just participating and reacting and engaging in the conversations. Good questions. All right. Some tips for balancing life outside of school. So how can our outside life impact our success in school? So these are some tips that I do on my own, and I also use with my students. So we've incorporated really quick meditations into some of our lessons, which has been, I've gotten some feedback from my students and that they have really enjoyed when we just take 10 minutes at the end of class or in the middle of class as a break to just meditate. And there are tons and tons of YouTube meditations for anything. If you're dealing with anxiety or you're dealing with stress, or you want to do like a meditation just to relax, or you want a 5-minute meditation to fall asleep, they are out there. There's also a ton of apps on your phone. Calm Space, Headspace, those are all really good apps that you can kind of access this. So if you're, feeling anxious and stressed out, meditation really helps. Physical exercise. Like I said earlier, we are not moving anymore. Most of us are sitting on our butts 8 hours or more a day. So anytime you have an opportunity to be physically active, whether that is getting up and taking a stretch break after every class, or if you're studying, setting a timer for 20 minutes, and every 20 minutes you get up and you do, a lap in your dorm, or you get up and you do a stretch, or you walk to the mailbox, or you do a quick jog, or you go, do a couple walks up and down your driveway. Anytime that you can, or run up and down your stairs, or take your dog for a walk, anytime you can just add some physical activity into your day, you'll just feel so much better. Talking and videoing with friends. My friends and I have a weekly standing date where we play Jackbox games virtually every week. Whether we're busy or not, it's just become a common practice in our lives that we need that socialization and time away from work and away from school to communicate with other people. So whether you're texting or videoing, or heaven forbid you pick up the phone and actually call instead of just texting, doing something to connect with other people. Couple other things: reading, drawing, creative, anything that gets that sort of creativity flowing. Something that I invested in to help with this is a calligraphy book. I've been really wanting to work on calligraphy, so I bought a calligraphy book, and that's kind of my unwind time. Some other things you can do relaxation techniques like the meditation. Doing yoga is super helpful. Listening to your favorite music. leaning on your friends and family for support, right? Even especially your rainbow family, we are all here for you. Playing with a pet or reading your favorite books. I am currently reading the Percy Jackson series. Highly recommend it. It's a good series. My next series is the Lord of the Rings series. So just find a book that is not school related, that is not rainbow related, and have just some you time. Questions?
Hey there,
Oh.
and well,
I'm not going to show the meditation, but I do have links to this after. So this is just a 10-minute meditation for anxiety. They're super easy. You can put them on in your car. I do this sometimes while I'm driving, although I do not recommend closing your eyes when you meditate if you're going to drive while you do it. But they are really helpful when you're kind of commuting back and forth. If you just need a moment to kind of relax and kind of calm down. Aria, are there any questions in the chat?
There are no questions in the chat.
Okay, my chat box has completely disappeared. All right, this was a big one, and this popped up on a couple of different surveys. And I know that not every teacher has this philosophy, and I wish that they did, but how you can communicate with your teacher, how do you express your concerns and struggles in a respectful way? As a teacher, I rely so much on student feedback to inform my practice. Am I an effective teacher? Are the kids learning? Are they getting what they want out of my class? And how can I better the structure of our class for my students? So I think it's so important to remember we are human, right? And sometimes teachers have rough days. We have bad days. But at the bottom line of everything, we want you to succeed. There is not a teacher out there that wants you to fail. And I know you can't always see that. I know we've all had our experiences with not great teachers, but we really truly do want you to succeed. So if you are struggling, reach out. Whether that means you are struggling with your mental health, you are struggling with a particular assignment or a particular concept. I would much rather, Jackie email me every day and be like, Miss Fowler, I'm struggling with this, than, Jackie turns in no work for the whole semester. And then at the end, Jackie's like, I'm failing. What do I do? That won't happen to Jackie though. Jackie's on top of it. Ask for help outside of class. If you want to hang on to Zoom, I always let my students know, I'm going to leave the Zoom open for 5 minutes after class ends. If you want to come and talk and ask questions or just say, hey, go for it. Biggest thing, advocate for your learning. Advocate for your learning. This is so important. And I wish it's something we talked about more with students and with teachers who are learning how to be teachers. But this is your education, especially if you're at the collegiate level. And I know that Zoom is really, it's a struggle at the higher education levels. They have been so far removed from kind of the public education life that this idea of Zoom teaching is a really big struggle for a lot of them. But you are, in the case of collegiate students, you are paying for your education. And if you are not getting out of it what you need, it is important to, in a very respectful way, let your teacher know. That doesn't mean go up to your teacher and be like, hey, you're really bad at this. I'm failing. But framing questions in kind of a non-accusatory tone. So I have an example here of something that a conversation that a student and I had. So I had a student approach me and they were like, Sam, why did you take off points for that? I would have been much more receptive to something like, can you explain what I need to improve for next time? I got these points off, I got a 90. Because we want to give you that feedback. We want you to improve. We do not have fun failing you. It is so heartbreaking when you're grading and kids are not doing well. Okay, so don't think that we sit there and we're like, yes, another F, more red X's. We hate that part of it. Okay, we want you to succeed, but we also want you to take ownership for your education, right? So come and ask us, approach us. What can I do to improve this for next time? What is missing? Okay, what am I struggling with? And things like that. So never be afraid to talk to your teacher. As long as you do it in a respectful way, I can't imagine that they would have an issue with it. This is particularly important, and I noticed it with my middle schoolers a lot, and my high school students, but if you are, if there's a whole group of you that are like man, like this is not working for us, talk to your teacher. Be like, hey, we were wondering if we could try this. Like, we're really struggling with this. Can we try maybe doing this? But don't just go up to your teacher and be like, we're not learning because we don't like the way you're doing this. But education is a collaboration between teacher and student, and you guys should be actively involved in that process. So don't be afraid to ask questions. And if you need help phrasing those questions, you can always email me and I will help you. Questions on that, questions on conversations with teachers.
Question just popped in. Are there additional steps I can take if my teacher is unresponsive to my need for extra help?
Yes. So Claire, my question to you, and if you're comfortable answering, that's fine. And if not, we can chat more about this after. Can you talk to me about kind of the steps you've already taken? Like, have you emailed out to your teacher? Have you like gone to office hours and had a conversation with them? What have you kind of done so far?
So this is the problem I've been having with my Java teacher recently. She does not really take into consideration my emails when I ask for help. It's more like vague answers or things that like don't help me at all. And she has an assistant teacher that does office hours for her, but he is not helpful really either. He's there as kind of like a substitute for her for office hours. So I was just wondering if there's anything additional I can do to help me there.
Yeah, so that's a tricky situation, especially where there's an assistant teacher and they're not much help. Claire, do you have a teacher that you feel really comfortable with at school talking to?
She's not a teacher, she's my guidance counselor. I haven't really formed, like we just started a new semester, so I'm not really familiar with my teachers so far. And the ones I had last semester, I didn't really form those deep connections I probably should have because, we were on remote.
Right. I think the next step would definitely be to your guidance counselor and just let her know, these are my struggles. I've emailed this teacher and have that documentation written down of, I've emailed Mr. or Mrs. blah, blah, blah on these days for extra help. I followed the office hour protocol to ask the assistant teacher and I haven't gotten help, and then have the guidance counselor intervene. There might be something going on that you're unaware of with that teacher, but it's also their responsibility to be responding to you. And so if you've taken these steps where you've actively asked for help, and made an effort to reach out to your teacher, I would take it to your guidance counselor next and ask if they can help kind of facilitate something between you and your teacher.
Thank
Good
you so
question,
much.
Claire.
Thank you.
Jackie asks, how do you work to create a community with classmates and students when you don't see them in person or on camera? Jackie, do you have a lot of like people who just don't turn their cameras on in classes?
Sort of. Like I have sometimes, this was like more of an issue last semester than it is this semester, since we've had like continuations of classes, but like you would go into a breakout room to like supposedly work on a problem, and then no one unmutes and no one turns on their camera. So I'm just like sitting there.
Even in the breakout rooms?
Yes.
Oh, that's uncomfortable. The way that we have done it, I mean, it's hard. You can lead a horse to water, but if they won't even engage in breakout rooms, that can be really tough. But we have made it a point to do like weekly study groups outside of class. There's like a graduate cohort and myself that we get together every week on Saturday mornings via Zoom to do some study groups. We also have a Facebook page where we can kind of communicate. Do you guys have like a UNH Facebook page for your year, Jackie?
Yes, I believe so. It's more like asking for roommates though.
Okay. I wonder if you could utilize that into like, hey, I'm taking this class, like would anyone be interested in like starting a study group or, prepping for this test or exam together or something like that. I know it's kind of hard right now where you can't actually get together, but I would kind of start there with kind of reaching out via study groups, and maybe you can form some relations via Zoom. Might be one way to start. That's kind of what's been working with us, but people in my classes turn the cameras on, so that's tough. All right. Next kind of topic, taking care of yourself mentally and physically. So what are some things that we can do to take care of our mental and physical health? So taking care of you, the most important thing is you, okay? So a couple of things that I have gleaned in my several years as a teacher and as a student. Give yourself a day off. The world will not end. I am still working on this. It is really hard for me to put stuff aside and tell myself that it'll be okay if I take a break for a day. And the sooner you can kind of work this into your life, the better off you will be in the long run. But it's okay to shut your email off at the end of the day. It's okay to have a hard deadline of I'm not responding to anything after 5 p.m. or after 6 p.m. Or, I didn't finish everything on my to-do list, but like my day is over. Like we have very firm times where like 6 o'clock work is done. Obviously there are exceptions, like if you have a really pressing deadline or something like that, but trying to commit yourself to a schedule of when work is done, work is done. And knowing that it'll be okay if you don't do something that night, if you watch a movie instead, or you go out to dinner instead, or you just take a nap. It's okay to do that. With that being said, what helps me is scheduling time to study, do homework, and time to relax. So in my daily to-do list, I have, 2 hours where I block off my study time. I have an hour where I block off like instrument practice, and then I have an hour where I block off I'm going to work out, and then an hour or two of like sit on the couch, watch Big Bang Theory, because that's my favorite show, or read my book that I want to read, or meditate or journal or do something. Moving every day. Okay. This doesn't have to be anything intense. This could just be like, I'm going to do 100 jumping jacks in my room really quick, or I'm going to do the Chloe Ting challenge. Yeah, Jackie's shaking her head. Yes, I think that's correct. Go on TikTok, you know what it is. Which is like YouTube workout series. You can find them on YouTube. You can just take a walk around your block, but doing something to move and be active every day is just so, so important. Even if it's just, when you get up in the morning, doing some stretching just to kind of get ready for the day. The other thing, make yourself some healthy meals, right? When we eat nourishing foods, helps us feel really good. So as much as, we love the occasional ice cream treat or like the Shamrock Shake that's coming out next month at McDonald's because it's almost St. Patrick's Day, everything is good in moderation. But making time to have and sit down a healthy meal makes you feel good. Talking to a therapist. Therapy is for everybody. You do not need to be going through a crisis to talk to a therapist. You could just talk about your day-to-day life. You can always reach out to someone. I can't say strongly enough, especially if you're in college and you have access to free therapy services right now, even if it's just, every other week to check in and be like, hey, this week was really stressful, but just having an outside non-biased person to have conversations with about what's going on in your life can be really helpful to just kind of alleviate some stress in your life. The other thing that I really love is YouTubing TED Talks or podcasts or audiobooks. And listening when I'm driving or when I'm like chilling outside in the summer in my hammock, or just kind of like lounging around, cleaning the house. I love to put on podcasts and things like that. The Try Guys have really great podcasts if you're fans of the Try Guys. So I listen to theirs a lot, but just kind of something that nourishes your soul. And then doing something that makes you happy. I am really lucky that my happy place is music and listening to music and studying music and playing my instrument. So that is what I do to kind of feel happy and feel fulfilled. So I linked over here and I have the link that will go out to you guys later. This is my Wake Up Happy playlist. So I have very eclectic taste in music. So this is an indie pop rock kind of mashup thing of kind of my happy tunes of like when I wake up in the morning, this is what I put on. Gets me ready for my day. I listen to it when I take a shower and as I'm getting prepped for classes and stuff. If you go onto YouTube or Spotify or Amazon Music, you can search playlists like Wake Up Happy or like Mood Booster or like Clean the House. You can find playlists for anything. But just listening to that positive music or music that makes you feel good first thing in the morning is super awesome. And I promise you it will make a difference. So it's just, you just can't help but like feel happy when you start to listen to it. I'm not totally sure if my sound was sharing. Could you hear that? Okay, good. So that's one of my like favorite things to do in the morning. Any questions?
There is a question.
All right.
Do you have any podcasts besides Try Guys or TED Talks you really like and would suggest?
Yes. TED Talks, anything by Brene Brown. Anything by Brene Brown is absolutely phenomenal. It kind of depends on what you're interested. So I listen to podcasts about like true crime podcasts, which is not everyone's cup of tea, but I love listening to those. But Brene Brown is one of my favorite women to listen to. She's phenomenal. Like anything you want to know about, she's got a podcast about it. She talks a lot about mental health. She is amazing. So Brene Brown comes to mind. Try Guys are great if you're looking for more comedic stuff. I'm trying to think what else I've been listening to. It kind of depends on what you're looking for. So I've been very much on the like meditation train lately. So a lot of my podcasts I've been listening to have been more like personal development geared. So it kind of depends on what your interests are and where those lie. But YouTube is great. And I will try to come up with some ideas for podcasts and people to listen to on TED Talks. And I'll send them to Mom Stacy to send out to you guys. Other questions, Miss Aria?
There don't seem to be any more questions.
Okay. I thought I saw something pop up, but I could be. Oh, Claire said I love Brene. Yes. Brene's best. Time management and scheduling. How can we get it all done? I saw a quote the other day and it was like, Beyonce also has only 24 hours in the day. And that was just really inspirational to me because if Beyonce can do it, we can do it. So these are the things that have helped me, not just in school, but in Rainbow. I know how stressful Rainbow can get sometimes. I'm sure right now with all the unknowns and the Zoom meetings and everything, there's a whole bunch of different stressors that I never really had to deal with. But these things have kind of helped me no matter where I am in life, whether I'm a student or I'm a teacher or I'm a Rainbow girl. These things have always kind of been my go-to tips. So every night before you go to bed, plan out the next day. I said that in the first slide and I'm going to say it again because I can't tell you how important that is to just kind of do a brain dump before you go to bed. Get your thoughts out. I like to journal before bed. That also helps. But just write out like everything that needs to be done the next day. And that way it's on paper, it's out of your mind, it's out of your control until the next morning. Making detailed to-do lists. I like to print to-do lists that are week by week. And that way I can just kind of post it to my desk so I can see it and I can look down and know, okay, Monday, my tasks to get done are these, Tuesday, these, Wednesday, these, Thursday, these, Friday, these. And that way you can kind of move things. Like if everything doesn't get done on Monday, you move it over to Tuesday. Getting a planner. Pinterest has a ton of free printable ones. I have some links to that. Target also has these really fabulous planners. And I am a big fan of these ones. I'm going to like plug, not sponsored by Target, but should be sponsored by Target. I like the, Maria laughed because that's where all of our money goes, is to Target. I like this one because it has at the beginning of every month, it has a this month section and you can write out your personal goals, your health goals, your work goals, your finance goals, if you're old like me, and important dates. And then it breaks it down. You have a month calendar and then every week you have a 2-page spread. And up here you have to-do lists, to call, to email, to buy, and some other space and then areas to write your homework and everything like that. I have always been obsessed with planners, and I probably always will be obsessed with planners, but I can't tell you how convenient it is to have just everything in one place. So you don't have to buy one, even like I said, Pinterest, or just Google free printable planners and you can find them everywhere. Next tip, know that you don't have to get it all done in a day. It is okay if things don't get done. It is okay if you had things on your to-do list that have to get pushed to another day. You're only human. It happens. Give yourself some grace and let it go. Chunking larger tasks and assignments into smaller ones, not just for school, but if you're planning stuff with Rainbow, like if you're planning an installation as an upcoming Worthy Advisor in June, or if you're planning an assembly project, or you're planning a grant officer project, chunking larger tasks and assignments into smaller ones and making sort of mini deadlines for yourself. So I have a really big 25-page paper due at the end of the semester. So at the beginning of the semester, I go through my calendar and I write down, okay, the first outline needs to be done by February 20th. And then I'll kind of break down, okay, I have 12 weeks realistically to get this paper done. You obviously want to have it done before midnight the day before, right? So I like to cancel that last week before it's due. So I have it done a week ahead of time. And I just make mini goals. I'm going to have my outline done by this point. I'm going to have my first 5-page rough draft to have my peer review it 2 weeks after that, and just kind of chunk it until you have this whole project done. And you can do that with anything. If you have a practice assignment for band, if you have math homework or a history project, breaking down all of those to-dos into small chunks. Do the research, make the outline, start writing your intro paragraph, do just the biography today, do facts one day, but whatever you can do to kind of chunk it down into little tiny chunks can help you get it done in a timely manner. The other piece of advice that I love is make it fun. Use stickers, paper tape, fun markers, etc. I have a whole bag of, it's literally called paper tape. You can find it at Michael's. They're always on sale, but it's just decorative tape, paper tape, and you can put it all over your planner. You can put stickers all over your planner. That always makes me feel good. Like Sunday night is the time where I plan my week out and I get my stickers out and my colorful pens and I chart out my week and make these to-do lists and things like that. So that's something that helps me kind of just tackle my week. And on Sunday, I know going into the week exactly what's coming. Questions or things that I haven't said that you have found really works for you and you want to kind of share with everyone and enlighten us on?
There is a question. Have you heard of using a bullet journal? And if so, what are your thoughts on them?
I have. I am not artistic enough to use a bullet journal. That is not how my brain works. With that being said, my friend uses a bullet journal and swears by it. But I tried a bullet journal last semester, but having to like physically draw everything out, it's just not for me. I like to see everything laid out for me in a nice way, and then I just fill it in. But if that works for you, if you want that creative side where you're also like drawing in your bullet journal, things like that, I think that could be really effective. It just, for me personally, does not work at all.
What is a bullet journal?
It's a journal with bullets. It's like a dot, like a dot book, Aria. And you can you basically you build your own calendar. So it's just like dots, spaced out on paper. Did you ever play that game where you had to connect the dots and make little boxes? Yeah, it looks like that paper. And you basically self make your journal or your planner or your calendar or whatever. Yeah, super customizable planner. That is just, it's too free for me. I need some structure. I need structure. That's how my brain works. Other questions or recommendations? Erin Condren planners, if you're a college student, I love Erin Condren planners. They're a little bit pricey, but you can customize it to exactly what you want. and they're phenomenal. Those are great. I love them. So those are my tips. Any questions, thoughts, ideas?
I think this was super helpful. Even just kind of working from home or, with kids at home, I can kind of give some tips and tricks to myself as well as to the kids. So this was extremely helpful.
Yeah. And then I'm just going to click through these resources. Like I said, I will send these to Mom Stacy, and I will also, Jackie, try to investigate some more good TED Talks and podcasts. But I just put links to like a daily to-do template that I find really helpful. Like I said, you don't have to buy these, but you can download and print them. You can kind of find whatever works for you. So that's a great resource, some calendar templates. I have some links to some study music playlists, some guided meditation playlists, the wake up playlist I mentioned earlier. And then this one I think is probably the most important one, is just some information about mental health in teenagers. And so if you are, feeling really overwhelmed, and I know in the survey, a couple of girls had mentioned that they were feeling pretty overwhelmed and pretty anxious, reach out. This can be a great resource. Talk to your family, talk to your Rainbow advisors. That's what we are here for, is to help you. And we're going to end with a perfect quote for really tough times by Albus Dumbledore. Happiness can be found even in the darkest of times if one only remembers to turn on the light.